We're ready for quite a presenter now. Our second speaker is Lana Lekopoi. Lana is a registered nurse who went into nursing in 1985, so she's well qualified to speak from her position. She specialized in labor and delivery, and on the side worked 17 reserves in northern Canada. Do you think that takes guts? She also has lived and worked in Florida, Hawaii, and Texas. I think she was chasing sunshine before returning to Canada 8 days prior to COVID. She is a certified nurse paralegal, legal nurse consultant. Now, if you can see that real quick, she is the only one in Canada with that title and has a specialty of standards of care and policies and protocols. Her last job was in an open heart operating room where she also did heart transplants. However, it is here on Vancouver Island that she says she has never witnessed such substandard care in her nearly 40 years. And some of you may already know that. She is presently on leave from work due to an assault, which is a daily occurrence for nurses at her workplace. Tonight, Lana will be sharing her experience with the situations going on in a hospital and facilities where she works, and the effect of Bill 36 on health care. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Lana to the stage.
Okay, first of all, I didn't do the transplants. I was the circulator. All right, I've got a lot to say, and I've spent a lot of time, trying to get a flow going. First of all, I do want to say thank you, though, for the invitation. I really do mean that. I want to comment on my bio. It could have been a lot longer, and what I want to add to that is that I grew up in northern Manitoba. No running water, no fridge, no stove, so I'm no pampered princess. I grew up very, very rough. Not in my home, I had great parents, but the community, shootings, stabbings, stuff. I want to recognize we are in a church, and so there's a lot of content here that I'm going to be very, very cautious of that I just can't say tonight. I'm asking you to read between the lines a little bit. Certainly the language, I'm not going to entertain that. But here we go. And pardon me, but I do have notes. I think everything I have down here needs to be heard. Typically when I do a presentation, it's like this and I have bullet points and I can just do it. But I don't want to forget anything. So if my head is down, pardon me. So a little bit history of my work experience, and there's a reason you're going to know in a few minutes why I told you about how I grew up. The most important part of my bio is that I worked those reserves. And so anyway, my experience really extensive. And I did come, as I said, 8 days pre-COVID, wasn't planning on moving here. I hesitate to use the word stuck, I always say stuck, but I came for a vacation. And I came from San Antonio, and I haven't been back. So I bought a home here. This is life. I ended up getting a job. And as my bio did say, that is where I was introduced to the absolute most substandard care I've ever seen in my entire near 40 years. And I've worked hardcore. And I don't think Vancouver Islanders, is that what you call yourself here? I don't know. You have no clue how good it can be elsewhere. And I think you're all, when I say you all, I don't mean pardon me, you know what I'm saying. I think people here are just unaware and they become desensitized. So I have pretty much made it a mission to try to do what I can. I still have tons of energy, even after all these years, to bring up the standard of care, or just to do what I can. I've had a few jobs, including working for VIU, so then you go place to place to place to place. So I've seen a lot of places on this island, and it's not good. So now I know the laws have changed, but in terms of the standards, I really, really have a passion to bring the standards up, but that's another story. So now here I am, I'm on, I've kind of getting settled on the island, bought a home, just a little bit down. So now I'm at Dufferin Place. So I'm gonna speak quickly because I've got a few pages and the meat and potatoes are yet to come. So I'm at Dufferin Place. So I'm sure you all know there's the hospital, the parking lot, and Dufferin Place. okay? They're like sisters. I'm privy, so I'm an RN, and so when I go in, I'm like supervisor in charge. So we are privy to what goes on there, and you become friends, right? You just have friends. And so we function back and forth together. So at Dufferin, this is big. So Dufferin, you people all knew about it before I did. So picture this, 3 units, 1, 2, 3, like the spokes of a bike. Within each unit, there's 2 wings, 2 wings, 2 wings, 2 wings. The wing facing the hospital, the parking lot, last year in August, they, pardon me, but people die or, they transfer it out. They emptied out that wing, which should be housing, I can never remember, 24 or 25 people that should be in there. And they strategically made it, they brought in addicts, and you had to be mental health and or have addictions. Basically, they were the worst of the worst population, that nobody could handle them. And they didn't know what to do with them. They couldn't handle them. 3 of them were in Dufferin already, and we'll talk about that later because I will talk about some of them. But, they emptied a unit, and so now there are 7 people, and they have they're all private rooms now. So a quad room that should have 4 people now is 1 person. So this is going to be important when you hear me speak. So we have what are, as they say, the worst of the worst. I will get into this, why I am scared to go to work. I've never in my life been scared to work. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. What I want you all to do, as I get into all of my topics, and I'm going to start rolling quickly, but I want you to picture you, your mom, your dad, your daughter having a baby, your husband is sick, all of it. Your 14-year-old needs an appendectomy. You picture anybody. You picture your life, and you picture, what I would really like you to do, if you can, is picture, it's not just me. I represent everyone that walks into the building. This is, and I don't want to cry, but I know I will. This is what we do every day. I'm sorry, because I'll probably cry again. Anyway, the topics I'm going to cover are drugs, violence, sexual and physical assault, drinking in their rooms, isn't that cool? The empty beds, you're going to be beyond, this is probably going to upset you more than anything. The government checks that they all get, and the weapons. I think the weapons are going to come before the government checks. I think that shouldn't have been in that order. In any event, here we go. The drugs. The drugs. Every day. We are exposed to them smoking. So I've learned a lot about drugs. I've never smoked a cigarette in my life, but boy, do I know things now. And so when it's not lit, you don't smell it. And they kept those drugs in our office when I started there, and we eat on the fly, And so there are 2 of us working, sometimes just 1 of us. And their drugs, their butane, their lighters, all their stuff, whatever that is, was kept in that office. And I had a coronary and got that stopped. So that's good. So now it's kept in their rooms. Doesn't mean we don't have problems. And pardon me, I do have to reference my notes here a little bit here. So keep in mind it's odorless when it's not lit. But it's been in our office. We've had baggies full of meth and pot. They have crack. Now I know what all that looks like. We are instructed to give them anything they want because they come to the office and demand, well, the nurses, I won't do it, but the nurses prep their pipes. So as I'm sitting there, we have the shelves, and it's all marked, and now I know how they snort cocaine and how they smoke crack, and they have bubble pipes for meth, and they have all they make nice little packages for their needles. They get their tourniquets. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Sorry, did you just say that the nurses prep the pipes for them?
The drugs aren't in them, but the nurses prep the pipes. So the nurses, their supplies are all there, and the nurses, I say, I don't do it, I refuse to do it, but they put it together and they put an extension tubing on because we wouldn't want them to burn their lips, right? And so they come, and we, pardon? Yeah. Well, okay, so they have put it under that category, but we have no control over their drugs, even though they're hiding behind that. That's my opinion, and I don't have time to speak, maybe after. So, but as I said, we are told to give them anything they want. So they come and they will collect 20, 25 pipes. They go to the street and sell it for more drugs. I'm going to say this now because I see it in my notes. We're also told not to touch their drugs or their weapons. And we have this in email, we have it in writing, that if we touch their drugs in their room or their weapons, that we can be charged with theft. So when we're scared and we're to look after them and we see some big old knife in the corner, or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Or we know that, holy smokes, like I don't even do drugs. That seems like a lot. Aren't there laws? I thought it was supposed to be a little bit they could have in their pocket. And you see a baggie stuffed with rocks, with meth rocks. Nope, it's just shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. They do smoke in their rooms. And a doctor told me often, I'm buddies with him, who works in both places. This is a true story, and this is what I really want people to know too, is that, for example, think of your parent or yourself, any of us. We go in for surgery, and right now, I'm privy to this, that about 90% of the people in regional are, I'm going to call them homies. Now, what is a homie to me? A homie is somebody who does drugs on the street and just behaves, has no responsibilities. I'm not going to get into it, but I call them homies. And I think you can kind of read between the lines. So this happens often, that there are 3 people smoking meth as I'm trying to recover from a hysterectomy. And I'll tell you, actually this is not in my notes, but that doctor, they're all on O2, oxygen, because their SATs, or their saturation is down, because they're smoking meth every day. And so he got mad, and he said, like, furthermore, as a nurse, you're trained, you don't even put Vaseline on the lips at the risk of them, causing a spontaneous combustion. So he discontinued all their O2. Do you know he got reported to the board for that? He got reported to the board. So anyway, oh boy, they sell it right in the hallways. There are 3 drug dealers in the general right now. People come off, the homies come off the street, to the hospital, to buy drugs, even in front of the nursing station. And there's nothing that PSO, the nurses, it's just so exhausting. You can't keep up with it. They are so brazen. They come to Dufferin, they're at the window. They come and buzz at the door, they're selling it down there. And we are told, actually, we'll get into this with the weapons, but it's a 24/7. Like, they can come anytime they want. Okay, so this is bad. So we had a meeting, us RNs, at Dufferin there, and I'm freaking out because, there's these bags of drugs, and how sweet for them. They have a little, like a shoe shelf, and they each have all their little slots, like little kindergarten kids. And I'm saying, like, what about these pregnant girls that work here? What about these women, these young girls, say the 20 to 35 group? What about when they're smoking meth, and so I won't get too much into detail because, like I say, I still got lots. So they're smoking meth at the entrance of the labor floor. So I go to security freaking out, and I'll get back to my story, but I go to security freaking out and saying, and they said, Lan, there's nothing we can do about it. I said, so Pappy pulls up, Mummy's in labor, and she has to walk over them or like go through their plume of smoke? Yes, she does. Yes, she does. So when a father brings little children, and I've seen this, coming to see, and I'm going to make this up, maybe you're coming to see their mom or their grandparent, and somebody's like shooting up. There's 3 people laying on the ground outside the general. They're smoking away, and I'm so upset about this, and I'm going to get back to my story, but this is what I was told, we were told. And I said, what about these pregnant girls? I go home and I live alone. So the first thing I do is I walk in, my laundry's on my main floor, and I take my clothes off and I go straight up and I use one bathroom only after work because I can smell it on my hair. I can smell their drugs in my hair. So this upsets me so badly. So these young moms, they go home and, okay, I can't, 2? Okay. And they're exposing their children. So I'm going to talk quickly. So what are we doing? Are we raising a new generation of drug addicts in utero? Babies? They're a baby coded in ER. Now I'm just going to give you facts. They use it in all the bathrooms. Their laundry is done with the general population. Their used pipes are done with the whole population. Their laundry. That's criminal to me. Violence. When that unit opened, there was a girl that beat the dickens out of geriatrics. And all I'm going to say is one of them died 1 week later. She went unconscious. Nothing happened. So she's ours. She beats the heck out of her room. We are so scared of her. And this is why I say about my bio, why is it that I could work in a reserve and do what I did, and I might go over, but I will make it quick, and do what I did, and I was never scared. I would have guys that would rape or beat their wives come in. And sometimes, because it's the weather, you have to wait for the RCMP to come in. They can't land. Do you know I was never scared? I was never scared, not once. And I couldn't go back to my suite because I had him. And he would sit in that chair and call me nurse. I would go, doze off as well. I was never scared. So how is it that I am scared to go to work now? That's why I brought my history into this. Something's wrong. And I'm going to tell you about the weapons. One shift, I was threatened for 5 hours off and on that one of them was going to kill me. Now, the sexual and physical assaults were called filthy names. I can't even use like the first initial. Filthy names all the time. Our breasts, between our legs, were touched, were grabbed. They're drinking in their rooms now. The carriers are pouring them gin, if you can imagine. They're drunk and stoned. I got kicked in the head. That's when I went home and had an absolute mental breakdown. As a nurse, you're called to assess them because they've had a fall. Dude has had 5 falls. He's all over the map, so I have to go and, do my nurse thing with him. And, that's when he just, kicked me in the face. The following shift, 3 of my colleagues were assaulted. One has a dislocated shoulder and her bicep is ripped. The other was sexually assaulted in a way that I can't even say because we're in a church and I don't know any of you well enough to tell you. The third I can't remember. And drinking, actually, you may not know this, but drinking can be in their MAR, which is their medical administration record. So same stuff. That so they're getting, ampicillin, they're getting, some Dilaudid, and a 50 ml of vodka. And we nurses are handing them vodka to take their pills with. And that's cool. Weapons. One morning, 7:15, I'm just getting settled. Some dude comes, and he was visiting one of our twice-a-day meth guys. And he's got a hunting knife. Now, I know a lot about hunting. And that was one that you would skin a moose with, or an elk or a deer. Those are sharp with that little bit of a tip. And of course, I'm scared, and I called administration, and they said, Lan, as long as he's polite and he's not smoking, he's not lighting up, he's got every right to be there. Another time, Mother's Day last year, some guy had an axe in the parking lot, like a 2-foot axe, and he's swinging it, and security was so busy they couldn't come. I called the RCMP. By the time they, got there, he was gone. But he checked his axe in, and that was his right. Security I love them. I have so much respect for them. And they said like at that time, that was his right to walk into the hospital and check his axe. Empty beds. This is what I want all of you to know, is that, so all these people have a bed, and they leave for 1, 3, 5, 8 days. Often they go to see their girlfriend, they go just get, crap-faced in Bowen Park, go see their boyfriend. That bed is theirs. And do you know, one day a doctor told me there were 78 people waiting for a bed. Meanwhile, there's all these empty beds. Where I work, they're empty beds. So think about it. It's a unit that should have 24 or 25 people, and we usually have 4. But yet, everybody else is on stretcher bay. What a game. What a game. Are you okay? I'm going to try. Honestly, I really would like to finish. I'm almost done. The standard of care. So now they've turned the chapel into like a waiting area. The standard of care is that there needs to be an O2, oxygen, and a suction per patient. I know that for a fact. And I highly doubt the chapel has suction and O2 for everybody. I've had patients transferred to me to the care home coming from the chapel. But yet, there's all these empty beds for dudes and girls to just, it's theirs. It's assigned to them. And one day I was so mad, and I called admin, and I said, come on, this is unethical. How can we do this in good conscience? Enough's enough. It isn't once or twice. It's all, since I've been here, and I gave some numbers, and she said, Lana, just let it go. Just keep your mouth shut. It's easier than what they have waiting for us to send over. It's just easier. I can't, I get that, but it's wrong. It's wrong. It's just wrong. They all get government checks because I see them. And it's so bad that they can even get that government check cashed at the hospital or the care home, and they get handed their cash. And they stiff us. When I say us, they stiff, the citizens for rent. They are in the $40,000 and $50,000 behind in rent. I know that for a fact. And yet they all get checks. And I don't get that. GST checks even. How do you get it? I don't know anything about that. But they still get checks. The shacks. Adrian Dix is a liar. I don't like that word. That's not something I use in my vocabulary typically. But the shack thing going up, one is going up right now. They're cutting down the beautiful landscaping at Dufferin to put up a shack. So 1 month ago, he was on television preaching that they're not smoking in public places. They're not doing it in hospitals, not in playgrounds, not around children. That's not true. So it's a contradiction. So either he was lying then or he's lying now. So what's going to happen now is they're building, allegedly, because I've actually got the plans in my email. I wanted to bring them tonight, but I have so many emails behind, I just couldn't find it. But $1 million, and I believe that. A nice, sweet little heated shack. So they have sex on the street. We see them. They have sex on the street. They're doing their thing. What do we think is going to happen with this shack? So he's making it easy for them. So the whole thing is insanity. Anyway, the shacks. I'm almost done, folks. I just want you to know, I'm probably 1 minute into it here. I did do an interview with the National Post. If you're interested, I believe his first name's Adam Vivo. Yes, and it was about nurses, healthcare, losing control. I am Lily in there. I just gave myself away. I don't care. So I'm Lily. So, to reiterate, we're scared to death to go to work. And we've honestly gone mental. I'm not joking. There's so many of us off. I'm the strongest person I know. And, oh, you're sweet, thank you. Oh, that's my friend Tamara. And we have no support. There are no policies in place. There's no policies for anything. It feels lawless. Yes, ma'am? You know what? Someone just asked me that. Honestly, I hesitate to criticize, but it's just always all talk. You know, everything goes in circles. Everything. And I'm going to end this with the lawlessness. The patients are now conditioning us. We are so afraid. I'm so afraid. I've opened that office door and I've had this coming at me. And I don't want a broken, fractured cheek. I don't want to be hit. I'm sorry for crying. So we succumb to their demands and we get no support, and it's due to fear and no support. So anyway, thank you, and I'm sorry I went over, but I really thought it was important that you all could hear some of this.
It's important. Look. Okay, I told you this was going to be heavy. I know it's turned a lot of heads, a lot of hearts, a lot of emotions. I initially talked to Lana about a week ago, and she said, "Do you have 5 minutes? I can tell you my story." Well, it was over an hour and a half later. There's so much and so much depth to this story. You've only heard the top of it, but you've heard some of the horrible side of it. Now I ask, has anybody heard that same story out here? We've got a few hands out there. Are you glad that you know now what's going on? Thank you to the two gentlemen who said, let her talk. Because I think that was so important not to rush her. My God, you've got such a big heart, such a strong soul to deal with all this, and then to step up and face this. You have no idea what you may be facing in the long run. I know that. But I think you've got a lot more people on your side now. What do you think?